In this video, we're now going to go through the process of setting up our Snowflake environment. So that means making sure we have all the source data ready for us to use. We have the right permissions, the right databases, tables, all that stuff, and get ourselves situated. And I've attached to this lesson a script to run. And I'm going to open this up here. This is something I've put together to simplify our life. So I've opened this up in Visual Studio Code. And just to give you a quick run through, essentially, we're going to create those databases. We'll create the analytics and the analytics dev, raw dev, create schemas, everything, create the roles, create the warehouse, and then grant all the permissions to each of these things. We'll create the tables, and then I'm going to insert all of this data. It's just hard coded. It's not, obviously, it's not a crazy amount, but it's something for us to work with. One thing we'll need to do before we run this is, as I've said here, add our own username. And basically what that means is we're going to give our user permissions to this role. So we're setting all these things for this role, and we need to make sure we add our name. So that's the only change we'll need to make. But we can copy and paste this in here. If we go back up to where that was, here's the username. So for me, it's hello KDS. And that should do it. So if I did all this correct, we should be able to run it and be fine. So I'm going to say all queries because we have a bunch in here and we want it to run all of them. And let's say run. And let's see if I did this right. Okay. Statement executed successfully. And we can see we're now on the role DBT training because at the very end, it switched us to that role. And we can see here we have our different databases. So we have analytics dev. Let's refresh. There's nothing in here because we haven't built anything. In our raw databases, we have Avengers, Fandango. So each of these have just two tables and one table. It's very simple because we just want to create a very simple architecture here. We're not trying to create anything crazy. And the main difference between dev and raw is, if you look at here, there's 172 rows in this one. There's 9 in this. So we just trim this down to have dev data, and that might replicate something you would see in a real environment. Dev is just kind of a subtle representation of what production is. It's not going to be the same. So we have that here, and we'll see some features in DBT that allow us to adjust based on our environment. Going back here, now our Snowflake setup is complete. We are ready to use Snowflake with DBT. And in the next video, we're now going to go through and actually download DBT CLI, the command line interface, and start moving even closer to building out our actual project.